Welcome back, everybody, to the Card Chatter with Refractor Jones and Bobbles and Ball Cards. However, this is episode 27, and Refractor Jones is unable to make it, so I have a fill-in, a special guest, James Gillem. I've spoken about him often, both on my channel, and I've mentioned him in the podcast. He arrived this evening, so I'm going to have him chat with me on this episode. As always, we like to start off with giving a shout out to Mason and Mason's mission. I will put the QR code up again. If you're not aware what it is, Mason is a cancer survivor, fighter, young gentleman that has multiple bouts, and he just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. And his mission is not to raise money for himself. That's the beautiful thing of this. A young man who has went through so much, he's looking at a bigger picture. He's looking at life as being good, and he wants to give back to others and help them out. So I will post the QR code up if you're able to. Please send a donation to help Mason on Mason's mission. It is a 100% nonprofit organization. The money goes directly to Mason's mother. We have no part in handling the money, but we do want to help Mason with trying to help others. So, James, thank you for filling in.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming down and attending the CSA Chantilly Show again. It's always a wonderful time. It's a great show. I'm glad that it is back strong like it used to be. I remember, just a little story playing into this, I remember telling you all about how great the show was.
Right.
And then the first time you come down, we went and was like, it was after, the pandemic had hit and everything. And I believe it might have been, was it a June show of 2020? Because I think March was canceled.
Yeah, it was June.
Yeah, I think it was June of 2020. James come down, we had hyped this show up, and we get up there, and it was an okay show, but considering the last time you went, it's definitely different, huh?
Right, oh yeah. Absolutely.
Man, I talked that show up, and we got there, and I was like, he's gonna hate me. Because it was still a good show, but there was like probably maybe half, maybe a little more than half, I don't know, but it was nowhere near the dealers that are normally at the Chantilly Show. So that was very disappointing. It was very surprising, honestly. But it's a great show, great atmosphere, awesome dealers there. I mean, obviously, he loves vintage. I collect vintage, but also if I want some shiny stuff, there's ultra modern guys there too. It's a great mix. I would say it's not heavy one way or the other. It's kind of a good mix, and even sport wise is a pretty good mix. So
there's non-sport stuff too.
Yeah, there's what's his name? Is it Gary? Gary's Cool Stuff.
Something like that.
Yeah, there's a guy there that specializes in just non-sport too. I think it's Gary's Cool Stuff, I think is what his
one guy there just Pokemon. Yeah. Pokemon.
There's a lot of cool stuff. Memorabilia.
Yep.
There's the autographs. The autograph list is absolutely insane. I don't know that there's another show out there. Maybe the TriStar Show puts on a good autograph list, and then obviously the National has some big hitters, but as far as like regional shows, I don't know that anybody can even compete with CSA and the autograph list they have there. But anyway, always a good time. Look forward to it 3 times every year. And we're going to go see if we can report back to everybody on... we've been hearing a lot about shows are dead, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been to any since the National. I do know the vibe of the sports card community, the sports card hobby has changed. I was telling Refractors, like, a lot of the mood seems like the switch flipped right after the National. and it like progressively went really quick. I think there was a pretty good attitude going into the National, and I felt the National was solid attendance. Yeah, the internet sucked and it was hard, making deals with people. But overall, I had a blast. But it seemed like after the show, hell broke loose. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but
no, because this will be the first show since the National that I've been to. So
yeah, I just meant like
we'll see,
content-wise and hearing and talking to people and activity in the hobby.
I think you have to take all that with a grain of salt, and people are gonna downplay it, whatever. People losing money, they're gonna be upset, so they're gonna the content's it's gonna be negative. And
do you think that some of it, and especially with the show is dead vibes, do you think people didn't do as well on both sides, whether they were a dealer or trying to sell stuff at the National or make pickups at the National? Do you think maybe they didn't do as well as expected at the National, and then coming out of it, they were getting more and more underwater, and shows started phasing out, the economy hits started happening, harder, and do you think any of that's got anything to do with it?
I think a little bit, and I hear people, obviously on YouTube, also say that, I've got so much money into this card, and then that's a dealer, and then as a person wanting to buy the card, it's like, well, that's not my fault. You put so much money into the card when, it's listing for $100 and you want $150. It is what it is. If you put more into the card than you should have from the beginning, well, yeah, you're going to take a loss because nobody's going to spend the extra money when the card's not worth $150.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I see a lot of that.
I'm really wanting to get go in tomorrow. Obviously this is a 3-day show. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I want to go tomorrow and kind of get a feel, because there's this controversy that I keep hearing is the economy has screwed the hobby up. Like, people are hurting for money and this and that. And I'm not trying to be insensitive to folks if they are dealing with financial troubles because of the economy. Because I do know, trust me, gas is up and my car passes everything but a gas station. The electric bill has been up. Trust me, I see that things, the food's up, all of that. So I'm not being insensitive to that. But when it comes to the hobby stuff, I've always felt like, and I know there's people that aren't, but I've always felt like for the most part, folks have a hobby budget and, or they sell cards and that's what they buy cards with, There's people out there that do use income to fund their hobby, but I don't know that it's a large amount of people. Maybe I'm blind to that. But I really want to see, because you hear two things. You hear the economy is screwing the hobby up, but then you also hear the dealers are overpriced on their cards. And the first thing that always makes me question when the argument is then the economy is like, okay, you have people going to shows. People saying they wanted to buy something. But the reason they didn't buy it wasn't because they didn't have the money to buy it. It was because it was overpriced. Now, I don't know about you, but if I went, and we're going to drop the D off of card, and we're just going to use this. I always love using cars to do examples. If I went to a car lot, and I was in the market to buy a vehicle, and it was more than I wanted to pay for whatever vehicle I was looking at, am I going to buy the vehicle? Or if the loan wants to give me an interest rate or a monthly payment that is more than I'm willing and comfortable with paying, am I going to buy the vehicle?
No.
Okay. And that's fair because most people wouldn't. You don't go buy a house if you don't want to pay the mortgage payment, right? Does that mean that the economy has put me in that position, or that I'm just being a smart shopper?
Right, right.
So I keep hearing these both sides, that the economy has screwed things up in the hobby, but then I hear people saying they were at this show and the dealers were just too high. So I don't know what it is right now. I don't know, is the hobby hurting or because of the economy, or is people just not buying cards at shows, and our shows, air quotes for all the listeners out there, dead because people are coming with cash in their wallet. They want to buy cards, but they're not going to overpay them. Like, this is October 2022. If you're pricing your stuff from February 2021, you're not going to make a sale. And you can't blame that on the economy. You have to understand that what you paid isn't what the next man's going to pay. The next man is going to take the best deal on that card. Don't make an excuse that the economy made it to where you couldn't sell a card at a card show because you were overpriced. So, I'm curious to see how Chantilly is with that. I did a video kind of explaining. You've witnessed me at shows and how I approach them.
Right.
I'm not really hunting much this time.
Neither am I.
I'm gonna go and enjoy it. I'm gonna hopefully maybe do some footage there.
And maybe that has something to do with, people saved up. They spent a lot for the National. You got, transportation to get there. You have hotels to pay for, or a house like we had.
Right. Which, by the way, was a hell of a deal.
Right. Yeah. And you have food.
Right.
And you've basically geared up for the National from the previous year. So you spent your whole focus on the National. And now all the smaller shows
are suffering. And there's a lot more of them, too.
Not only that, think about it. This time of year, Thanksgiving's going to be here, and then Christmas is going to be here.
New Year's, yep.
Yep.
So the gas bills for heating is going to go up.
So that might have a lot to do with it. The fact that everybody put their focus on the National, and now there's a lull because, yes, Christmas is coming, and you have to, buy your kids presents, your wife presents, whatever. Or, like Brennan said, you have to, your heating bill, whatever. But
that could be some of it, and I think many people went to the National. You've mentioned you hate the Pelican cases, and let's be real. What's in those Pelican cases? Cards that they were trying to sell, right?
Right.
So there was difficulty at the National. At times, you could move some stuff, but there was difficulty dealing with dealers because the internet situation. And, in today's day and age, everything you got to look up the price of the card and see, I get it. There's so much out there and prices change so rapidly, what have you. But it made it very difficult to wheel and deal at the National. So maybe that's part of it too. People didn't come out selling as much as they had hoped. I honestly think there's a lot more shows now. There's a lot, even more bigger shows, so to speak. You have Dallas, you have the Atlanta show, you have the Midwest Monster out there, you have the Vegas show, you have that Chicago show,
the Philly show,
you have the Mint Collective, which I heard is just more of corporate stuff. Philly's always been a staple. Like Philly and Chantilly, that's been a solid staple. They've been around for a long, long time, and people have known about them. I'm talking about the ones now that more and more people are talking about.
Right.
I know Denver's been around, but it never really was talked about much. So you have a lot more shows, and then you have your smaller, even lower level shows that are, available pretty much every weekend. So I'm wondering, too, if it's not just a lot more people started using the hobby as a source of side hustle, so to speak, and everybody wanted to become a dealer. And then obviously to become a dealer, you had to have inventory. Well, to have inventory, likely people were buying when everything in the last 2 years was massively hot and up, and then it started cooling off. Or they were ripping wax, and let's be real, wax, it was expensive, especially if they were buying from secondary market. Grading, the cost of grading was higher than it had ever been. No matter what company you were using, you were paying a premium for grading. So there's many things where all of it cost more money, and the growth of everything. These people, they didn't just have inventory sitting there. Like they didn't just come in and have boxes of cards sitting in their lap. They had to obtain inventory to become dealers, right? Or to have cards to move. And I think really it's just a matter of how much people spent to build up this inventory, and many people are underwater, so to speak, and it's making it difficult for them to accept losses and sell. And sadly, I really hope that they don't think that everything is going to recover and go back to 2020 and early 2021, because that's just not the norm. It would take an absolute hellacious miracle or massive manipulation for that to start happening again. It's just not how things work. It should have never been that way, and there was so many signs that I'm not saying like, I didn't play all of my cards, so to speak, perfectly, but having the amount of cards I already had benefited me a lot from when things rose. I already had them sitting there, right? And I was, if it was something that I didn't really want, like a LeBron Topps rookie that, I sold for $1,800+ more than I paid for it, yeah, it benefited me heavily. So it'll be interesting to see the future. I'm saying we're in end of October. I'm curious to see where we're at going into the next national. I'm really curious to see where we're at in the next national. That gives us what? We got 2 months left. That gives us about 9 months. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if we're gonna start seeing like early 2023. Some people that just get up, they give up. They see the signs it's not recovering, and they're just gonna fire sale and try to take what they can get.
It's possible. It's possible. But as a collector, we're in this for the long haul. So it's just, I seen it in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. You go with the flow. You just go. And
didn't you have like some booklet that had pieces of the Ten Commandments and like Jesus's robe or something as a?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I mean, you just got to go with the flow, and But some people can't, so because they're too heavily invested.
Yeah, and I mean, I sell cards. I'm not sitting here saying I'm 100% never let anything go. I do have cards that I won't sell. But then I have stuff that I do let go of, and many times it's pack-pulled stuff. But there's also times where I've said I might, you've mentioned it before. You're amazed at how I do all the sports and the years and all this stuff. And sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, I got to get refocused, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. The national... I bought stuff I got like planted in a box and was pulling stuff out that I didn't necessarily need, but it was fun. I was having fun, and that's kind of why I've settled down a little bit coming out of the national. I'm gonna go looking for cards this weekend, obviously, but I want to get back focused. I want my national stuff. I want to work on my Hall of Fame, rookie list. I'm working on a couple non-sport sets that I would love to complete. I have. I think I want to start working more on my Ravens, Baltimore. I don't buy a lot of football, but I was thinking back that 2012 Super Bowl was just an amazing ride. There was some memories there. I remember giving the missus a high five so hard she'll probably she could elaborate more on that. But I gave her a high five so hard on that deep pass to Jacoby Jones against the Broncos to go to win that game late in the game that I knocked her engagement ring off her hands.
Wow.
That's how hard, like how pumped I was for that play. I still remember it. I gave her a high five and then like the ring flew off her hand across the room. So that Ravens defense and stuff like that, like I want to pick up some nice cards of that. I like collecting Jason Robertson and the hockey stuff. So there's many things out there still, I'm not boxing myself in. There's still a variety of things I enjoy, but I do want to be more focused, like the Emmets for her and, that sort of stuff, and not just go wild and just buy things just because. I wanted to have more of a purpose and meaning in my collection because I do find, I like that those drawers there have slabs in them, and I go through it and I'm looking sometimes and I'm like, man, I forgot I even had this, and it's like at that point I have to ask myself, does it mean anything to me? Why did I hold on to this when I see it? Do I get excited, or is it like, I forgot I had it? You're huge with your Yankee stuff, right?
Right.
So let's say you go through and you pull out, I don't know, you go through your collection and you're like, oh, I got this random Cincinnati Reds card, and not like Johnny Bench or something like that. Just I don't know. We'll go with Ken Griffey Sr. Does that have any significance to you?
No.
Does it excite you?
No.
So at that point, you're just kind of like, that's cool, it's cool, I have it, but is it meaningful? And that's what I want. I want my cards to be really meaningful to me. So I think that's the direction I'm focusing more on now, maturing even more. And it's always good to, I feel, grow your collection and then trim it and grow it and trim, because I think each time you grow it, you find like better, not necessarily better grades or anything like that, but you're building a better quality collection that means something to you.
Versus quantity.
Yeah, right. Grow it and then trim it. Grow it and trim it. And, I got it. You talk about it. You go into rabbit holes, right?
Right, I'm in run now.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that is healthy. I really think it's healthy to find a rabbit hole, because if you're boxed in, I don't want to say, it's always good to vary, like,
right.
because
it's good to experiment,
right,
branch out,
and if you don't look at other things or learn about
right.
other things,
right,
you never know they're there,
right,
and we talk about this as being a hobby, right? It's supposed to be fun, right? Well, quilting is a hobby, right?
Right. Well, for some, yeah.
If you were into quilting and you sewed the same quilt over and over and over with the same color, same pattern, same thread, same, batting in it.
I'd be falling asleep.
You would get bored, right? It would stop getting exciting to you.
Right.
Because you would just be making the same quilt over and over and over and over. So it's nice to experiment. It's nice to learn new things. It's nice to see new cards. And I'll tell you, rabbit holes are massive, massive fun. So, anyway, I can't wait for us to get up to the show and see what's there. I'm excited. I definitely am always excited for the Chantilly weekend. So, now, let's just touch real quick. I'm not going to go too lengthy in this episode. Let me check, because I don't want you to miss the end of the Yankees game. So let me make sure. Okay, we got a little bit more time. It's not over yet. Just real quick, I want to touch on this. We got, me and Refractor always have topics we like to go off of. And we're going to talk right now. You're sitting here, and I want your opinion.
Okay.
Why are hobby friends important to your collection?
Well, I just found this out just a few years ago, meeting you guys, and of course the rest of the guys at the house I shared with the National. But it's important because you get to share it with somebody other than, sitting there with your cards in a closet or a room. And, basically, you're collecting for yourself. Yeah, you enjoy it, but it's also cool to show it to somebody else and see what they think about it. And also get to share in what somebody else is collecting, like yourself. So, to me, it's very important. I mean, and not only that, the cards are great, but meeting new friends is more important than cards.
So, and we don't have to go deep into it, and but I know you've shared stories with us, and you used to have someone very special in your life that you did cards with.
Right.
And you lost her.
Yep.
And you told us you kind of just lost interest in it.
Right.
Right?
Because didn't mean the same.
Exactly.
Didn't mean the same.
Right. Without making friends or finding, people, and I'm not even meaning us, because there's many people out there that now that you've met and are friends with, but
right.
Had you have not met people to share this with, do you think you would have gotten back into it?
No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I know we shared this story back, over on my channel. But there was this very special set that you completed at the National, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many different people were involved in completing that set for you?
A lot of people. A lot of people.
And the last card has
a
story now, right?
Yep, JJ, yep.
So, would you say, specifically just with that set, that friends are a very huge key to your collection?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because even before I met all you guys and the folks at the house and stuff, of course, as we talked about, with my wife, she used to go to shows with me and all that, and she was a big part of, my collecting world, and she helped me get some of those 56s, but, to finish it off,
there was many pieces involved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Many people involved.
Many people.
And,
many people.
One thing that, me and the miss, I'm blessed to have her and that she enjoys it. And, basically, we share all of this together. But outside of even just her, the friends to me kind of write the story of the collection. One reason I enjoy doing YouTube is I can sit here and share stories with you guys. I can share the cards. I can give, when we're doing the previews of the reveals, I can, give people crap or whatever, joke around, we can horse around and joke, right?
Right.
But there's all pieces, there's all stories to these little items of cardboard, There's a story of whether we pulled it out of a pack. There's a story of whether we bought it at a show. There's a story of whether we traded with somebody. Or the grading aspect, if it's a graded card, like, did you buy it that way, or did you send it in and it got graded? This Mercer now has a story because you didn't have a clue you were getting it. And Shay private messaged me and was been asking me, and then we did our YouTube video to share that moment with it. There's a story to all of this, and without the friends, that book is unwritten.
Right, and it's pretty lonely.
Yeah,
besides,
let's be honest, it's kind of a really geeky hobby. I mean, we're nerds. We're statisticians that keep up with sports and athletes, and then we collect photos of them on small cardboard. Like, there's no secret. It's a nerdy, geeky thing, and they're very expensive pieces of cardboard and photos. At the end of the day, it is.
Right.
But it's a blast, and the people make it what it is.
Yes.
That card right up there, I remember that was a birthday present. That mantle. That was a birthday present that the missus didn't know what to get me, and she coordinated with you, and you happen to have two of them, and you had never sold a card before, but you sold it to her. That gave you some money. I believe it was when you got the Ruth autograph done.
Right, yes.
Yeah, authenticated.
At the Chantilly
which
Show.
That was a story that, me and her are now part of. She carried that thing around all day, freaking excited as hell.
Right.
We were there, trying to find out what the outcome of it was. It gave me chills, The friends make the stories behind all of this. And they make these pieces of cardboard way more special than any amount of money that you could sell them for. And if somebody ever tells you that friends aren't important to their collection, they are either the biggest hermit in the world,
or they don't have friends.
Well, that's what I mean. They're either the biggest, what's the word? I don't want to say recluse. There's a word there where people just stay to themselves. They're either the biggest, non-sociable person in the world, or they're straight up lying to you. Because I think everybody out there, it's just like going to a card shop and making a connection, a relationship there, and sitting down and just talking about this hobby. I mentioned Chris Knight, I went out to, he called me yesterday. He's like, hey, you want to go out to lunch and, I'll pick my cards up or whatever. And I was like, dude, I'll be honest, I already ate. And he's like, oh, okay, no, never mind then, don't worry about it. And I was like, no, I'll still go, get a glass of tea while you get lunch or whatever, and we can talk the hobby, I was like, I always love talking about this stuff. So that's what we did, I don't know. I can talk for hours and hours about this stuff, and it's because of the friendships. It would be pretty crazy to tell somebody, yeah, I love sports cards, if I just did it alone, so
right.
And thank you for, well,
oh, you're welcome.
that I can't, that might be copyrighted for the Golden Girls or whatever. What isn't that their little thing, their song? Thank you for being a friend. But anyway, I sincerely, truly mean it. Thank you for stepping in this evening. Hopefully Refractor can listen. This episode will be up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Hopefully he's doing well. And
yeah, Refractor, I don't know what's going on. I just know he said he couldn't get on tonight. I don't know. He said something about he couldn't get online, so I'm hoping that just means he doesn't have internet. I don't know exactly what's going on. It's not my place to share any personal information or anything like that. But if there is something going on, sir, thoughts are with you. Let me know whenever you can that everything's okay. But again, James, thank you. Everybody out there listening, we appreciate all of you as well. And we always finish up the episode by thanking all of you. So thank you, everybody, and we hope you have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend.